the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. So let's start with introduction. Unfortunately, you were surprised with the last minute change. Unfortunately, our friend Jan got sick. So I'm a last minute replacement. So for anyone who was waiting for Jan's session, apologize. Today, I'm stepping in to talk about error handling in Canvas apps. So welcome everyone. My name is Chris. Let's start with this, right? With the introduction. So my name is Chris. I'm a part of Baltic Power Platform community. I'm a Power Apps consultant working with Cheat Team. And here you got the QR code. So if you don't know me, we are not friends on LinkedIn. You can always scan that QR code, navigate there, add me. If you would have any questions and you are not the kind of person that would like to ask them during a live presentation, live call, especially that it's recording, then please reach out to me on LinkedIn, and then I will be happy to answer all of your questions over there, right? I encourage you also to open my blog page, empower365.cloud. So there is not much content over there, but you can also reach out to me via form that is over there. Okay, so what we will be talking about? We'll go through the error handling introduction. We'll go through why we need it. We go through basics, how we can start implementing error handling in our Power Apps Canvas apps. We will talk about all the Power FX functions that will be available to us to handle those errors. And we will talk about how to handle unhandled errors. And at the end, I will have a useful URLs for you so you can navigate through some great documentation and understand a little bit more about error handling. So let's start with introduction. For those of you who know me, I have dogs. So I like to compare our applications to the dog behavior. Because when we see dog on the street, whenever we are walking, on going for a walk, going to the shop or something like this, and we see a dog, we expect the dog to act in a certain way. We expect that it will be going next to our heel, right? It will not be barking aggressively. So this is the kind of a behavior that we need to work with our dog. If we will look on our applications, it's quite similar because we want our application to behave in a certain way. This can be not throwing errors on the left and right? Not to annoy our users, to be quite performance efficient. So we need to learn how we should work with our application to make it in a certain way. We as citizen developers, consultants, developers, we are responsible to create the application in this way. So it behaves well. Like our dogs, we have to train with them so they are great and cool and happy, and we are not surprised with their behavior. And here comes the reason why we should do this. So we should work on the errors and learn how to develop our application because of the fear, but maybe not of errors for us as developers, but of our end users. Yes, I find it a little bit funny, but imagine that whenever those red pop-ups flying around on the top of our application, they are unexpected, and our end users, they are not happy about it. They don't know what to do. They will write us an email. They will contact support. We will have additional work. Maybe our calendar is already full, right? So we want to make sure that our users are happy. So this is one of the main reasons we should introduce error handling to our application, because the journey in our application is a key factor of satisfaction for our end users. So if the journey from start to the beginning of the process will be smooth, will be flawless, no errors will be flying around, and data will be saved and everyone will be happy. We will not have additional work with support. Our support team will be happy. And it does not matter if this is internal application or for our customer. Still, we are aiming for end user satisfaction, for the seamless user experience, right? This is actually a key factor. So now, if we know the introductions why we should implement error handling, let's go to the basics. So what we have here, we have the conclusion of how we can take control of what's happening around, how we can take that control over errors. So first we have to start with point number 1. This is one of the most critical things. So identify where those errors can occur and handle those errors. How to handle them, we'll talk soon in the next part of this presentation. So if we know how to handle errors, we know how to identify them, we can also go to the part, what will happen if I will not code my way to handle those errors? So we will talk about how to unhandle those errors for those items that are not covered with our previous error handling. So we have to identify when we want to use error handling and if we need the error handling in this particular place. And the last one is learn from our mistakes. We can create something called error log list, error log table. So based on it, we can see what was happening in our application, maybe in all of our applications, and learn from those mistakes, change our code, change our development approach. So what do you think? How we should start our error handling journey? And the question is not that obvious because it's at the settings. So depending on which authoring canvas version you have, you will be able to enable formula level error management in your application. So if you're using, you have an older application, for example, created last year, and you want to modify it, you will be most likely here with enable your error handling in settings. But if you're creating a new application, error handling is available to us outside of the box. You don't have to enable anything. So here, we don't want to disable this functionality. If we'll turn it on, the error handling will be off. So that's not what we want. We want to proceed with the best possible approach. So to have it available for us. So if we will turn it on, or in the newest applications, we will not turn it off, we will be able to use error handling functions available to us in PowerFX, which we will go exactly in a second. So we were talking about most important item is to identify when an error can occur so we can handle it later. So when the error can occur, this is really, really important question. Most of the times, the error occurs whenever we are working with a data source. So we can have a network issue. We can have a permissions issue that we can read the data, but we cannot create an item, a record. We might have an edit conflict because too many people wants to edit the item at the same time, for example, right? It also depends on the data source that we are using. Or maybe we are using not proper values when we want to update our data or add new data. We are not providing the required fields in our data source. We have empty queries. String is not string, integer, a number, which should be a number is a string. So those things are causing an errors. So if we know when those errors can occur, let's go to the part of the code execution, because code execution is crucial for us to understand why we even need the error handling in a way we will be utilizing it. Because if we will not understand how Canvas apps are working, we might skip the real threat, and the threat is the data quality issue. So how code is executed. This is called a sequential load. So you are having one item being done, and when it's done, you're going to another one. And if it's done, you go to another one. So it's one after another. So out of the box, it's not at the same time. It's not asynchronous. It's one after another. Let's execute 1, go to 2, then go to 3, right? So if you call for the data to get the data from data source 1, you have to take the data to be able to execute the next function, get data or update the data, right? So this is how our code would look like. If we want to create imaginary scenario, we want to create new items on our data sources, and we have 2 of them, candidates and job openings. So at the beginning, I want to add a new record to candidates data source, a new brand new record. And whenever it will be done, I want to add a new record for job openings. So what will happen if the first one will fail? If the first patch will not be executed, what do you think will happen with the second function I want to call? Will it work or it won't? So the bad news are it should work. So the first function will fail, we will see errors flying on the top, but the second function, it should be executed. And then we have data quality issue. So let's imagine we are an end user working in our application. We do a patch. There is an error flying on the top. Hey, something went wrong, but user cannot stop it, cannot influence the code that we wrote. So the second function, even the first one failed, will be executed. And what we have done? We have a big issue. First of all, users are contacting our support or are writing to us, calling us directly, right? So why this is bad? They are not happy. They don't know what is going on. So user experience failed. So as we have it in the title of the session, it's for seamless user experience. That seamless user experience makes people happy. And if there are some errors flying around, and they can, they are not always great opportunity for the path, the happy path. No, not really. But going off of the topic from user experience, we can go to the data quality side. So the data is wrong. Imagine that what we are doing is creating a main record, a parent record, and we want to create a child record. So there is a relationship between. And it might be that the second record is created without, the child is created without parent because we made it that it could be created. And then the data is misleading. We don't have the parent, so how we should work with the child? This is a big issue. And what if we will do a dashboards or we want to analyze the data later? It's a really bad situation we are ending. The process quality is not the best. So let's fix it. How we should fix it? In the classic programming approach, there is something called try, catch, finally for error handling, right? So what we want to do is to take that approach and put it inside our Canvas apps. So here you got a scheme how this error handling would work on our Canvas apps application. So the first action is patch this candidates data source. So what we want to do is put that patch and want to create new record, and we will check if that action failed or worked properly. If it failed, we can try to patch that same data source again, or we can do something else about it, but we know that something failed, so we can handle it. And this is the most important, I think. We can handle it because we identified the error of it. So if there is no error, we just go to our happy path, to the success, and everything is perfect and fine. And if it's not working still, so we did a try, the first patch, we catch an error, we can do it again. We can also check it if the error occurred there on the second try, if our logic is as follows. And then the third try fails. So for example, we can log it, create our error log list. Okay, so the most important actions to think about, as I mentioned, is data source manipulation. So it's when we provide new data to data source, and tagging the data to our application. So we will be thinking about patch, collect, remove, update, and also remove if and update if. So those are the functionalities that needs the most of error handling. So what is the easiest way to start? And that's not what you think. It's not going straight away to the code of patch of collect. It is to think from where part of the issues might come from. They might come from our users not providing the data the way we want. So we want to execute, there is a need actually to execute a search query. For example, our logged user we need to take a manager, for example, of our logged user for, I don't know, a leave form. And we want to provide that email, for example. We can do this automatically for the logged user. But if someone else is providing the information, they should provide the email manually. So data input. If we want to search with any of the connectors for the data in our Microsoft 365 environment tenant, then we should be 100% sure that the search query is not empty, or that the search query is at least few characters long, so the outcome will not be too big, or there not be an error. So delay output is a metadata of input fields in Canvas apps. So if you will set it to true, your application will wait till you stopped typing the input data. And then it can execute the query with the whole string or integer provided to that input field. By default, it is disabled, so delay output is set to false. On the false, when it's set to false, it will take each click on the keyboard. We don't want each click. It can execute multiple of queries. There will be multiple of information getting back, or even plenty of errors. So that's really, really bad. So whenever you are looking for data, searching for data, getting the data with a parameter provided through the user input, please be sure you are checking that you will check that it is provided with delay output. And the next thing would be to learn about notify function. So what is important about notifications? If something goes bad in the wrong direction, we can always set to the user, hey, something failed, or hey, something worked properly. But we need to know, and we have to create the way we want present information to our users. The most important thing is to learn how to use notifications, how to use those notifies. So notify have three things that you should consider. First is the message, so how you want to communicate with your users. Second thing is the color of your notification on the top. It can be green for success. It can be gray for neutral information and red for errors. So you can decide in the code which one of three you will use. If it will be like here, like nothing, just notify, it will be a gray notification with duration of 3 seconds visible for our users. Okay, we know the basics. Let's handle those errors right now. So the functions that are allowing us to do error handling, if we will enable it in the settings, or not disable it, is blank or error, is error, if error, errors callers, and on error property. We will go through each and every one and talk why is it important to use them, how you can choose, how do they work. So let's begin our error handling journey inside PowerFX. So let's start with is error and is blank or error. So what those guys are doing, they are checking if error occurred. So why is it important? Because we do this in the code, so we can decide what will happen whenever the error actually occurs. And we can handle that before our users will get to us and say, hey, something's wrong, I can feel it's not the best experience for any of us. So is error, this guy is only providing us information. Is it true or is it false regarding the error? So do we have an error? Yes or no? Did the error occur? Yes or no? So what we actually have is just true or false value, which is invalid if we will not add something to it. And that something is if statement or switch statement. So if error occurs and if error is saying us the output of our check is true, then we can do this. And it's false, let's do this. So add if statement or switch statement to work with is error, because the output is simple, true, false. Did the error occur or not? So the great thing about is error, we can turn it around. We can use negation. We can use this mark. So here you got a comparison. The most important thing that you should realize is that here you got on failure at the beginning and you got on success on others. So it's completely turned around. So we can say, okay, this is my action, and then we have happy path and a handle error path. Or we can have action, handle that error, and a happy path. So I personally prefer to do negation is error. So I gotta have my happy path on top so I can know what's going on the code. But if you are a part of a bigger team, please ask your team members, ask your project manager, your colleagues, if there are any company guidelines, because if there are any, it is the best would be to just utilize them. So everyone is using the same approach. Everyone is using the same code. So you are not being confused and you can work quicker based on it. Okay, so there was is error. So we should continue with is blank or error. So this guy combines checking if the error occurred and if the value is empty, right? Actually, the value is blank because empty is for tables. So it is also this kind of a guy that says true or false, does it failed or not? So we have to still add some if statement logic to it. And if you are utilizing is blank in your application, I highly recommend to change to is blank as error. It will help you a lot. You will stay safe. If there would be any error, you're handling it straight away, not only checking if the value is empty. So that's perfect. So how we can use it? Here you got the example inside a code. If the value is blank, no value at all, or error occurred, we can handle it. And it also works well with the negation. So you can decide. You are the master of your approach. So be happy with your own one inside your application. Now, I would highly recommend to quit is blank function and do is blank or error instead. But there is something similar, isn't it? If you are aware about that functionality, we will talk now. You're probably like, yes, there is. Why haven't you told that already? But for those who are not familiar with error handling that much, you've got a coalesce function. This function is a tricky one, so let me explain how it works. It is a combination of if, is blank, or error. So it checks if the value is empty, if error occurred, and if this empty, use this value. So from scratch, you go with coalesce. You provide the value 1 and value 2. So if the value is blank, the value 1 is blank, use value 2. But if value 1 is not blank, use value 1. This is really powerful feature because it can work with data sources. So you can check if the record exists in a data source. And if it exists, update the record. If it does not exist, create a new record. So it can go beyond our approach and be used in plenty different aspects of Canvas apps. So as it's a little bit tricky and it does not work that easily for us as is blank or error, so please have fun with it. Play with coalesce and use it instead of is blank of error only when you feel comfortable without it. Because as I said, it's a little bit tricky. If you'll start playing with it, you'll see what I mean. So now we already spoke that there is is error, right? Then we said we need to add if statement, but I showed you that there is a coalesce that is checking if the value is blank, etc. So we also have this possibility with is error. There is a function called if error. So it actually works as if and is error at the same time. So you can see here, apologies. So you can see here that it's much easier to use. It's quicker, just about one if statement. You got a close comparison, how it will look for if is error and if error. If I have to be honest with you, I prefer to work with if error. Actually, if negation is error, this is my favorite approach. But I deeply believe that you can use if error if you like it. You have to you can choose whatever you like, and it's still great. It's still great, and it still does the same functions as checking with if or switch statement is error. So you can decide. Now let's go a little bit deeper, because what we said previously is take the function patch data, get data, and put if statement with a checking of errors inside, out. Like, let's put our data statement inside error function and then handle it. So errors works a little bit different. So what is errors function? Errors returns a table of error details. So we can get information about record, column, message, error type, and we can a lot of great things without it. But from my perspective, it is mainly for citizen developers, people who can do something more about it. It is not to inform user what happened. So we can log those information to our error log. So here, this is how it looks. You see this patch function? This patch function create a new record. It's not a run error handling function. We are leaving it alone. What we are doing, we are checking if our table of connection to a data source we want to work with is not empty. That's a little bit different approach. That has to be put it inside a different order of error handling. So we do something, and then the next step is to check if something failed between. So we don't have this straight up information as previously true, false. Now we have to check if the table of errors of this particular connection is empty, so we can do something about it. This something about it, this is not the best approach, but this is only to show you what is possible, is to use a notify function to put a pop-up on top, to do an interpolation of strings, so put regular text provide hard-coded with dynamic values of our table of errors with information of column and a message. So we can show that to user, not recommended, or we can save it somewhere, work with it later. So this is powerful information, really, really powerful. But for us, makers, developers, we are deciding what to do with it. Okay, expect errors. We can also use a first error. So this is information also quite deep, quite technical. So we can see the details of our HTTP responses. What was the response code? Like 404 of our errors, everyone knows 404, right? So what is the source? So actually, this is really, really great for developers to save that information somehow, somewhere. So as you can see here, it's really, really easy to be utilized. So you can just put it inside your code. But how complicated is it? Here, you've got a screenshot of Microsoft documentation providing information only on error kind. Look, error kind, you've got plenty of aspects that you can have inside. But my favorite is error kind dot none. There is no error, but let's throw. Right? So we have to have fun about it at our development environment while we are creating the application, and then understand if we need any of those information. If we want to use errors, do you want to get that first error information? Do you want to log this in our error log list? So this is really, really important because you decide how it will work. You are the master of the seamless experience of end users of that application, but you have to learn how to create it first. So let's have some fun with handling those errors. And now we'll go to this unhandled errors approach. So what we spoke about is we identify and we code our way around the errors. If this happens, let's notify, let's create another action. This is the happy path, this is the unhappy path. But only when we code our way around it. And what if we don't code our way around certain functionality? This is 100% fine because you can choose not to and mark it as unhandled error. So what is this unhandled error? So this is the error in our application that occurs in a place that we didn't code our way of handling errors. So where we can do this, it's in our application metadata. So whenever you open your Canvas apps, you select application, you will see a drop down on the top, and then you will code your way. So over there, you can take the control how you communicate errors to end users. You can create your approach for error log, but only for unhandled errors. This is important, right? So once again, application, drop down of metadata on error property, and then in PowerFX on the right side, you can code your way. So this is the example. You can just notify, or you can create an item in your error log list. But on error is, even though it's great, you have to think when you want to not handle those errors. So if you'll go to the documentation, everywhere you will have information about, oh, divided by 0, this is the great example. So if we'll take a number divided by 0 in our application, so the user will not provide a number of the division, right? So it's 100 divided by, and then the value is blank. We cannot divide by value is blank, so we can handle that error with is blank or error, or if we'll use coalesce, then we would have provided, for example, if the value is blank, please provide 1. So divide whatever by 1, it's still the same value, right? Or we can just decide not to handle that error and create on error metadata a function that will say, please provide necessary data or something like this to our end users. That kind of a notification can also be created inside handled error, right? You cannot divide by blank. Please provide. You cannot provide by 0. Please change your value. So you have to decide where you want to go with your error handling. You have to decide whenever it is needed, because your code can grow a lot. If each function will be inside error handling, and then you want to go with try, catch, finally approach, it can get really, really big. So it's not recommended. It can slow down your application. So think whenever it's needed. What is the most crucial items you want to handle? Always be sure that your data for search queries is provided. Okay, so we are getting to the end of the presentation. Here you got 3 QR codes that will navigate you mostly to the documentation of error handling approach inside Canvas apps. Okay, so let me know if you've scanned it, and after a while we'll go to the last slide of our presentation and we can go for some Q&A, or we can have a longer break before the next session. Okay, I'll give you a sec. I'm gonna take a sip of a coffee. Okay, let's hope everyone scanned the QR codes if you are interested in those. And now there is the thank you time. I really appreciate that you joined Poland Power Platform Bootcamp. It is really a special edition for us because first time we are organizing two paths at the same time. We are having international speakers and we are having a Polish speaker to encourage our community to step up and share their dose of expertise of knowledge. So thank you very much that you decided to spend this day with Baltic Power Platform Community Global Power Platform Bootcamp event. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask offline, not here, or you just want to add me to your friends network, scan this QR code and find me on LinkedIn. Add me over there. I will be happy to accept and answer all of your questions. Once again, my name is Chris, and I'm Power Ups consultant at JIT. Thank you.
My goodness, Chris, it was wonderful. Thank you for this session. And if you have questions, you can ask them on the chat. And there is, I think, one question. Or you can just go unmute and ask your question, just having the opportunity to have Chris available.
Yeah, I can see there are few questions. Do you see me? Face? No, the mustache. Yeah, that's funny. Okay. Fear of errors. Error is a chance to improve our app. That's beautifully said. Maybe I'll provide your quote into my presentation, Mariusz. So actually, this is true, but I will answer it, even though it's not a question. I will add a comment to that. So it is a chance, but you have to learn error handling first in a development environment, in a safe environment, and test it out of yourself. So you will feel comfortable to know where you should provide that chance inside your code to improve that app. Because at a certain level, certain deliveries, you would be actually obligated by people receiving the application for it to work seamlessly. And if there would be an error throwing around or will be really, really laggy, they might not be happy about it. So always think about those improvements while developing the application, or test it out and then provide it in your app. Okay, so do not notify at first error step yet. And a question from Mariusz. Okay. So
Nika, there is a question from Nika as well.
I'm going from the top of the chat down.
Oh, okay.
So I do not communicate errors on the first occur if it's a handled error. Most likely I want to check what happened and then try again, like get the data, maybe there is permission. So I want to check what is happening over there and then think what I should do. I do not communicate at the first time. I usually go and try to analyze and do this action again. So I do not recommend to notify first. I would like to, I prefer to notify after a try, but you can also decide that, for example, hey, the most critical item is the first one. The patch, the first patch is like the parent record. It's the most important. So sometimes what I do, I go like this. If the first item fails, I just notify to a user, please resubmit that. Please do it again, because I know if that failed, it can fail again, right? From the error handling perspective. So I would like, sometimes I just like to notify users, please try it again, so it can wait some time before they will react. We will add additional response time for our connections to our limits, and maybe it will then work properly. So you have to think about it, but I recommend not to use a notification at the first step. They don't need to know that it failed unless it's really, really necessary. So you can decide whenever notify them. You have plenty of possibilities, as I mentioned. Let's scroll down. Okay, Nika, I might have a very edge question here. Do you have experience in errors that occur after initial success? Error log is empty. Users receive a successful information and then errors is thrown, which results it's not logging the data. So if you save the first record and it fails, and you try it again and it works, but then something else failed, because I'm not sure about this question. Error log is empty. Maybe we didn't create the error log. Okay, so let's go from scratch.
It's there. Okay.
Okay, the error log. Okay, so we handled the errors. So we did if is error, for example, and few action worked, but at the end something did not work. Or how do you envision it?
Yeah, so the case is actually there, and we have like some sort of form that the user actually fills in, and then they hit submit, and it saves. It should save in SharePoint, right? So when the user hits save, they got, okay, this is submitted successfully. So we have all green lights, and then the error is thrown. It's actually one and the same error each time, and it's the implement iConvertible. And it's not, we can't see anything in the error log, so everything is good based on this.
But this is custom code in PowerFX, or this is a SharePoint form?
This is, well, it uses the SharePoint columns, but I do think that this is the
so you use regular patch, not SharePoint form submit form.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to mention, this is, I was just thinking if you had any experience, I don't want to make this about this case, just wanted to.
Yeah, can you tell me what the error is?
So the error is actually object must implement iConvertible. And it's, the thing is, it's not even global. It's just for some users, and the users do not appear the same each time.
Okay.
So it's very strange.
Okay. First question is, are you utilizing a patch to create new record or to update the record?
Create.
Okay. Are you using a bulk patch, or are you using this column, this value? This column, this
value, yeah.
Okay, because if that would be a bulk patch, so add me new records from this collection, we could say that there is an issue with bulk patch, because unfortunately sometimes a bulk patch wants to update columns that are not updatable. Like modified by, change time, something like this, and it wants to update it with no reason. So even bulk patch is great to provide plenty of things. It has its own issues throwing very, very randomly. So the only thing I have, the only thought I have is would be to all the data that is being provided, like check if your inputs are set to text or number.
It's been checked.
And it's been checked, and then then to be sure do a convert functionality of a number. So a text is a text, and the value that is a number will be converted to value either way before pushing that to your SharePoint list. Because, for example, previously I'm utilizing a lot of date time formats in my applications and in my automations. And the issue is I'm fighting a lot with ISO 8601 format. So whenever I'm providing a datetime value from application to Power Automate as an input, as a text, because you cannot provide a value, a datetime value as a date. The date is a date. There is no datetime input in Power Automate. So you have to provide it as a text. And sometimes it analyzes it as a text and sometimes as a date. But if you will do a datetime conversion while providing the data to a data source or to Power Automate, so you put a datetime value, that everything works perfectly and there is no issue about it. So even though I told you that the error handling can be coded our way around it, here we get a perfect example that we also have to check if the number is a number,
Yeah.
if a text is a text. I'm not sure if that will solve your issue, but sometimes
But that's a
whenever
great
I'm
input.
having, yeah, that's at least
Thank
we
you.
can try. And
Yeah.
if the errors will occur more, if you are able to change your data source, just create the same list or the same table with the same metadata, but from scratch, and just change it. You can migrate the data later, for example, if those are officially necessary.
Yeah.
But you can create a new list or a new table and see if the issues are also occurring over there. Sometimes it's outside of our hands and we
Yeah.
cannot influence
Yeah,
those
that
issues.
makes sense. Thank you. Thanks a
Sure.
lot.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Maybe I'll ask Mariusz if I answered your question properly.
Yes, of course. And hi, Chris. Good to hear you and see you again. As always,
Hi.
great session. I've got one. I believe you were telling about delay output, right? Property for input fields.
Yes.
And just in modern controls, I believe it now calls trigger output, right? They changed the name of property.
You covered really interesting topic. So my internal, maybe not hate, but I do not like, and I am not keen to use modern controls. I have only few that I like to use, like information button. So this one is cool, but I do not like buttons. I do not like labels. I don't like inputs from the modern controls. Even they look a little bit better, I don't feel comfortable with customizing them as much as with the previous ones. This is one of the things. And second of the things is I had plenty of time a situation when I selected a button on development application opened in a development mode, and the logic was not executed on the button. I opened it as a user in a play mode, and the logic was not executed. So I do not trust them yet. Maybe I'll change that approach one day. But if I, as developer, cannot enforce a button to call its onSelect function to execute a logic, I will have plenty of issues from our users. I click it, it's not working. So I decided to not to use them as an error handling approach to just stay safe.
I use them a lot right now on my current project. I've got no such problems, but I do agree that they are not great at all. But there is one property which is great, state validation state. It is really great. You could validate almost every input when the user is providing some input, and then you can stylize on the fly and error handling as well through that.
Okay.
It is great, but everything else, it makes me sometimes crazy. Especially stylizing on the dark theme. No, that is terrible.
It has its own advantages and disadvantages, so
yes,
we can choose. Okay. Ask me how sent right now in the chat. Please rate this session. I will be happy for feedback. Maybe I'll know what to change in my presentation approach, what to change in presentation. This was quite introduction session. There was no in-depth knowledge. So maybe one day we can create an in-depth session about error handling or error handling in Power Automate. There is also plenty of things to talk about it over there. So if there are not...
one thing more, I don't believe that you are on the list in this because you were a replacement, right?
I was a replacement, but I think Michał just created the one for me.
Yes, we managed to update the schedule.
I cannot see, Chris.
If you go to this, I will send you quickly the link. This is the schedule. If you look at the schedule,
I'm talking about form to give a feedback.
Unfortunately, oh, come on, I forgot. Sorry. Sorry about it.
I was
Come on, it was an error handling session.
So you
we
catch
did
it.
not handle that.
Yeah, but you catch it.
From me, you can get feedback. Everything was great, as always. Great session. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.
I can confirm.
We have 9 minutes left. So if there are not other questions to me, we can use that time to go eat lunch, for example. A quick, really quick one, because at 9 minutes you get really impressive next session, right?
Yes, exactly.
At least make a tea.
Yeah, at least. So thank you very much, and enjoy the short break. Thank you.